I think the first place that we need to start is analyzing actually.
How far away am I from getting into this AI advertising?
I think the problem is not that you're behind because all the solutions are there for you. It's just to know.
Would you start small or would you go for a big capture all campaign?
I think initially all the stats.
What are the metrics to understand which one of these is working best?
I will always recommend people to go for.
How do I know when I get to that plateau?
You can take two decisions. The first one is, and the other one is to.
Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Seller's Journey podcast with me, Ant Willis. And today I'm delighted to be joined back by the amazing Cesar. Cesar, welcome back.
It's a pleasure to be here, and how are you?
Oh, I'm really well, thank you. Yeah, I've really been looking forward to getting back into this conversation. The last conversation we had obviously was a lot about, how you can kind of build a meta ad campaign that goes hand in hand with a Amazon PPC advertising campaign. So, and I think it was really interesting. It's not something that I'd ever really considered being pro Amazon, but it really kind of opened up my eyes, to a new approach. And I think it's something that I've been thinking about quite a lot lately. And since we had the conversation, I've had a few questions come in from different people that are looking to kind of implement that kind of strategy. Really interesting stuff. And today, really, I guess it would be great to kind of get into the detail a little bit more and start to talk about physically, how do we kind of implement these strategies and, what we could expect from them to begin with?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting journey for everyone that wants starts in this. And obviously, they'll be confusing at the beginning because there's many things that you have to consider. But yeah, I'm happy to guide you through what will be probably like the first steps that I will take if I were to at least test it out, being an Amazon seller and wanted to test out both Meta and Google. So I think the first place that we need to start is analyzing actually the website. So these days you've got all these options like Shopify or Webflow or all those template-based website builders that with 2-3 clicks you can actually create something really good and really well designed. So I think first of all people need to consider that is the equivalent to your front shop. Like back in the days when you've got like this physical barbershops or any shop where you actually sell your products, they should look like crisp and really beautiful, trustworthy. So it's exactly the same thing in the digital world. You already have that done, so you've got your Shopify store all set up and everything. The rest is quite easy. I think probably the only thing that you would need help with, like yes, is to make sure that there is something called tracking. So it's installing a couple of codes from Google and from Meta in your Shopify store. And this way it's really easy and you can just connect it with some of the help that is internally on Shopify, for example. There's 3 clicks and then you're in. But it's good that you probably just look through somebody that can help you. As for example, we are Optimus, we do that. We help people to actually have a look at that. Because once the tracking is everything like connected, creating campaigns these days with AI is quite simple. It's probably not the most efficient way to do it, but you can do it yourself using AI. And it actually gives you like a glimpse of what actually you can achieve with this because it's going to create automatic campaigns, going to give you results. Probably not the best ones, but at least you're going to start seeing some sales coming in by doing so. It's probably a process that you can do in less than 2 days altogether.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. So I guess the tracking element is so that you can really kind of determine what's working really well and what's not working so well. So do you consciously then almost kind of do live A/B testing? So you'd set up a couple of different options, a couple of different campaigns, and then test and learn from each one?
Absolutely. Every market behaves differently. So, and every need for every industry. So let's say, for example, for cosmetics, they might be performing better on Meta, while if you talk about things like, cup holder probably is something that works best on Google. So you do have to split test it to know what works best because the worst thing people can do is assume things before they test it. And that's the same thing. Like we're having this conversation precisely for that because people actually need to test Google and Meta before they roll it out and they just stick just with Amazon. I think they all complement and they give you benefits, different benefits that you should not be missing out. So yes, you're going to sort of establish the tracking for both platforms correctly. And once that's done, you can start trialing out automatic campaigns for both of them just to have a look. And that's something that probably ad specialists would never recommend you to do everything like AI suggested, because we know from experience that it works not as well as doing things properly from scratch. But I recommend this just for the experience of the person who are actually testing out, that it actually can bring sales on board. And you don't have to spend like fortune on it. You can like $5 to $10 a day for a 3-week period. And then you will get a glimpse of, okay, this is how much a click cost me. And that you can compare with Amazon, for example. You can say the cost per click in Amazon is, I don't know, $1 per click for my product. But in Google Ads, is 30% less, and in Meta Ads, it's 50% less. So that's the kind of metric that you should be looking into. You say, okay, if I get a person that knows about this stuff and can maintain or improve the metrics that I'm seeing coming through, then it might be something going on here.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. It's an interesting point that you mentioned about the auto campaigns, because of course, you know, as kind of professional advertisers within the industry, anyone can set up an auto campaign, right? So it's really straightforward. So yeah, I think, you know, I have this same argument within the Amazon world as well. I definitely feel like there's a place for automatic campaigns. For me, it's a great place to kind of derive data from. You know, you can really learn a lot from running auto campaigns. But of course, for somebody that's just starting out, it's the obvious way to go, right? Because that's going to kind of do the hard work for them to an extent. Yes, it can be improved with knowledge and experience and, you know, creating manual campaigns. But from, you know, if you're an out and out beginner in this world, you've probably got a good idea of the foundation if you're already working on Amazon PPC, because I'm guessing there are some similarities. But yeah, I think, you know, starting off with an auto campaign, harvesting some information to be able to then apply that later on once you've got a bit of experience under your belt, a really good way to go. How many campaigns would you kind of set up to test? Would you start small, or would you kind of go for a big capture all campaign and then try to whittle it back?
No, but I think initially I will start small, because obviously the things that you need to test that the tracking is correct. And that's one of the biggest frustrations from people when they started this journey. That they said they put a budget and they say, I'm not getting any sales. So they just pull the plug on it. And most of the times it's because they don't have the tracking correctly set up. So you tell the platform, maximize your bid strategy for maximize conversions. But the platform doesn't know what a conversion is. So in Amazon, it's a bit different, because in Amazon is the same ecosystem. So the attribution model is perfect. So obviously everything that you buy in Amazon, like you sell on the Amazon, is connected to your ads platform in a way. In here, we're talking about two different companies. They have nothing to do with each other, like Google and Shopify. So we are connecting them both and sending information from one to the other. So that's why it's so important to have this set up correctly. And once you have that correctly set up, I will always recommend probably to start with a search campaign, okay, on Google, and maybe with a campaign exclusively for Reels on Meta Ads. And it depends on your audience. I would never recommend you to go just with Instagram, even if that's your first instinct, because in the West, we obviously use a little bit more Instagram, but you never know what results are you going to get from it. So always split test it between Facebook and Instagram. And you can always exclude Facebook afterwards if it doesn't work well. But yes, automatic campaigns, Advantage Plus on Facebook, and then maybe AI suggested search campaign on Google. That will be the first step that I will take. Again, not the most effective by far, but at least it gives you a glimpse of what you can achieve with this, and start getting you information.
Okay, this is really interesting, because one of the big advantages of using Amazon is that you've got the full journey captured, right? From search all the way through to purchase. And I guess within the e-com world, like, this was always one of the big benefits of advertising on Amazon. I think what you're saying now, though, is that what you can do is you can actually have a Google campaign that leads into your Shopify store, so that now you can begin to capture that purchase behavior as well as the kind of Google search behavior. So in fact, now you're able to capture the full buying journey on, you know, within this ecosystem as well.
Of course. So that's done to the attribution. So attribution models, they have been advancing like a lot in the last few years. So for example, like before we had the last click attribution model, which was like the conversion of the sale was attributed to the last click. So for example, if the person clicked on my ad just right before they purchase, even if they visited the website months ago or weeks ago, it was going to be attributed to that last click. Now it's changing to something called data driven. It's not changing. It has changed like for a while now, which attributes to multiple touch points. The actual sales, for example, if you've got a shopping campaign on Google and a search campaign on Google, and the actual user ended up interacting with both of them, it's going to attribute them accordingly to what of the journeys was more effective or how much each of them contributed, which is great, because then you can know the value of each campaign. And it could end up being the chance that your product is massively profitable on shopping network, but it's not as good on the search network. So you can pause one and put all the money into the one that you know actually works, or transition to something a little bit more advanced like Performance Max, which is a little bit of an AI. No, it's a lot of AI on it, that it combines basically many of the networks of Google, and just based on every individual is going to try to target every individual with the most effective value. But I think we can talk about Performance Max in a different video because it's so complex for you to understand, like, because Amazon is advanced, but from what I've seen in terms of the ads platform is what Google was a couple of years ago in terms of how to set up a campaign, how to attribute those things. And Performance Max is such a wide network, an advanced network, that it's worth to have a full conversation about it at a different time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that would be really interesting. Be good to kind of learn the basics, I guess, first, and then like get into some real detail with regards to that. Yeah, I really look forward to that. So then with regards to kind of getting set up initially, you've set up a couple of your auto campaigns. What is it you're going to be looking for straight away? What are the metrics that you're going to be looking at early on to understand which one of these is working best?
So obviously, it depends on your product. If you've got a beautiful product and the tracking, assuming that the tracking is correctly installed, I think the only thing you need to look at is what's important for you. So in my case, I will always recommend people to go for ROAS is a good one. It's a classical one. But don't stick to that one alone. So have a look at the click-through rate, for example, to see how effective or interesting your ads are, or have a look at the cost per click. Because if you're actually running ads on Amazon, then compare them both and say, okay, yes, a click of Amazon probably is a little bit more closer to the end line of the actual purchase journey, but how much? There's a statistic that it says that Meta ads cost per click is an average on every industry. So I'm averaging it out with loads of inputs. It is about 50% less on Meta and sometimes even 70% less on Google. The 70% less in terms of cost per click, it's tricky because it takes into account something called display campaigns, like those banners that you see on many websites, but you just click on them. And obviously it's a bit tricky, but still knowing that it's a lot cheaper in a way, it gives you the limits to say, okay, I might be able to experiment out in this because, I don't know, some industries, they're so competitive that the cost per click is just through the roof and they struggle with the cash flow. So they say, okay, maybe if we try Google ads and we make it work, since the cost per click is lower, then we can try it out and just get a couple of sales from it until we get a little bit better cash flow that we can invest on Amazon. So the metrics that you should be looking in: conversion value, number of conversions, conversion value over cost or ROAS, cost per click, and then is top impression bid, which is like, with the bidding that you're doing, how many times are you reaching out the top positions on Google? Because you can still be bidding and be shown in the page number 2. So it depends on many factors, but that's impressions is something good that I like to see sometimes.
Okay, interesting. So basically then 70% or up to 70% lower cost per click on Google. How does that translate to, when it comes to kind of physically converting the sale? Because again, my theory would be that somebody that's searching on Amazon has a purchase intent, whereas they may not, or they may have less of a purchase intent searching on Google. So do you see a big difference in conversion?
So I think it depends on many factors as well. So I'll give you an example. So I've got a client and they sell notebooks, right? Like really nice notebooks. They would sell on Amazon. What happened is that the ROAS basically was for them with the ads was about 2. Okay. and they were quite happy with it. But we tested out a shopping campaign for the same product. It was a little bit of a longer journey because what I did, so shopping needs something called a shopping feed, which is basically like your product catalog, and it has names and keywords and everything inside it. And then Google basically pulls information out of it to showcase it on the shopping network.
Got it.
So we have to optimize the feed. That's a little bit more technical, but you don't need this straight away. Okay, you can trial it out and then start improving bit by bit. But we improved the actual feed. And for the same products that they were getting a ROAS of 2, we ended up having a 4.7 in the first 2 weeks. So not all of them have that effect because, again, it depends on many factors. It's clear that people is going to Amazon directly to purchase, and it's not the same in this. But if it's well done, you can see like really good turnover like over time, but you need to just make a couple of tweaks. And I want people to not be afraid of it because everyone goes through the same journey. There is a couple of things that we need to look at. And yes, it's a reality that it is not as clear and plain as Amazon could be, but rest assured that there is many things that have been changing in the last few months and that making life with people a lot easier. And the reality for Amazon, for Google, for everything is that it's going to be more AI driven towards the future. So don't fear about it, about technicalities, because there's always going to be someone that can help you out to clear out any doubts that you've got. But don't miss out on the opportunity to test it out.
Yeah. You mentioned that it's, Google and Meta are advancing really quickly and, really starting to utilize AI. If I just literally said to myself, right, I'm just going to start using Google ads now, today, for the first time, using your example of beginning with auto campaigns, how far, away am I from getting into this kind of AI advertising and really being able to utilize all the tools that are beginning to kind of come out?
So remember that Google's and Meta business is to give you return, okay? So because if you actually get money out of it, then you're going to return as a customer. So that's the logic behind it. But their end business is to make money, okay? So you just have to bear in mind that they are creating so many good tools lately. Like this year alone, for example, Gemini has released a 2.5 version now. Okay, so Gemini being the competitor of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
For example, they introduced something called VO3, which is their new video generation text prompt to video software, and is the most advanced in the market. So it can actually have like real skin with not like this plastic thing. So it's impressive what you can do. And with a couple of clicks, you can actually put your photo of your product and they can create everything behind it inside the same ad platform. So there's so many things. And I think the problem is not that you're behind if you want to start today, because all the solutions are there for you to take advantage of. It's just to know how to start. And it could feel a little bit overwhelming for people that see all these many features that you've got available, but don't be. Okay, because all you need is to start with the fundamentals. And once you prove to yourself that it actually can deliver to your actual sales, it's going to be super simple for you to say, listen, I'm going to have to talk to these guys at Optimax to have a look at my account. So they can just book a call with us. For example, we do like 30-minute sessions for some of the people to just guide them through this in detail for their specifics. But there's many options in the market and you can just go ahead and have a look at what works best. And I think as long as you know that there is a proof that it works for you, and then you know that there is people that can help you out with this to escalate it further, you're good to go. You don't need to feel left behind or something, nothing like that.
Great. I mean, it sounds so exciting. Like it's really making me want to just kind of go away and get into it like really quickly. Last question for me. So I'm brand new to this. I'm going to go away and I'm going to start to run some auto campaigns. How do I know when I get to that plateau where the performance is starting to reflect my experience in Google? And so when do you get to a point where you say, okay, I need to get help from more experienced people to help me continue to drive this?
I think it's an individual decision. It depends if it was my business, the first thing I will look at is the cash flow and maybe the profit margins. So for example, if I've got a product with a big profit margin, let's say a 65, 70% profit margin, which is really big and really good, then I'll say, okay, every sale that I get, I can allow myself to put the cost per acquisition, the cost per conversion could be, I don't know, $7 because I'm doing 65. So when you see that it's going in the right direction, it doesn't have to meet that criteria of being like break even because you just start saying it's just more as an investment to see that it actually delivers sales. I think the moment that you say that you're actually getting sales, it's being reported, it is real, start tweaking things in there and you get to a point that you say, okay, I feel that I don't know what I'm doing. Then you can take two decisions. The first one is go and learn about it. And the other one is to hire somebody to do that for you. The learning one is good. There's loads of materials out there, but there's a lot of information. If you've got the time to do it, you can do it. But agencies works, we work in the basis of if we don't deliver you a better result that you could do yourself, you don't pay.
Oh, wow.
So that is how we actually work in Optimus. We say like, if we don't improve the ROAS, you just simply don't pay. Even if we do all the tracking, we change a lot of things for you. And agencies work on that basis, saying like, listen, we are so sure of the experience that we deliver to you because it's like a surgeon. Like, yeah, you can stitch yourself little thing or just put a band-aid maybe, but you can't stitch like a deep wound. So it depends on how far you want to go into that. And I feel that's something that you just know your business better than anybody. So at the moment, you say like, listen, I see an opportunity here to grow. Let's invest on it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that sounds great. And I guess the decision, as you kind of pointed out, is, kind of time versus profit, right? So if you've got the time and you want to, you got the desire to learn, then there's, as you mentioned, there's plenty of content out there to do that from. But, a lot of brands are going to be kind of really short on time. There's a lot to go for in this market right now. And I guess if you're making good profits, then that, bringing in external help's going to be a really good option for you. Incredible. I really appreciate it. And what I'd love to do, if it's all right with you, Cesar, is maybe let's create some material that we can kind of add into our Skool community so that people that want to learn about this thing, they've got a little bit of a platform. It's a free community. So you can join with the link in the description and then we'll pop some information in there so that you can begin the journey of this kind of, Google and Meta ads, because it just sounds incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, let's do that. Yep, for sure.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I think we're out of time. Cesar, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak to me. I know you're a super busy guy, so really appreciate you taking the time. Next time, I think perhaps we'll start to dig a little bit more into, physical kind of attributes and how we really start to kind of make things work and push things to the next level. I'm really interested to learn more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime. It's a pleasure always to be here with you.
Great. Thank you very much, Cesar. I'll chat to you next time.
Yeah. Talk soon. Bye.
See ya.